This is Dreamtime Science, where we paint the canvas of your dreams with the soft brushstrokes of scientific wonder. Together we'll explore the mysteries that dance at the edge of consciousness. You know what's fascinating? I've been thinking about how our brains seem to take a little vacation every night when we sleep, like they're quietly shutting down to reset in ways we don't usually notice. There's something remarkable about what happens during that peaceful pause, and I'm excited to share why our minds really need this nightly rest to keep us feeling alive and refreshed. Should you find solace in these cosmic lullabies, consider becoming a regular dreamer by subscribing. Share what topics intrigue your curious mind in the comments below. Let's prepare for tonight's journey. Find your most comfortable position, let tension float away from your body, and take 3 slow, peaceful breaths. Night has always been a canvas for our questions, a vast velvet backdrop against which the enigma of sleep unfolds. There is a hush when darkness falls, a gentle insistence to close our eyes and let the world slip away. In that surrender, we all become voyagers, adrift on a silent sea whose depths we scarcely understand. For as long as we have told stories, sleep has haunted the edges of our imagination, as a portal, a prison, a spell, or a secret kingdom. We fear it, we crave it, and we seek its meaning in myth, in science, and in the twisting corridors of our own dreams. Consider the tales we tell to children and to ourselves. Rip Van Winkle, bearded and bewildered, slumbers for 20 years beneath the shadowy trees of the Catskill Mountains, awakening to a world transformed. In his story, sleep is a kind of time machine, capable of skipping decades with a sigh, yet not without cost. Or think of Sleeping Beauty, cursed to an endless, enchanted sleep, her fate wound tightly with the ticking of unseen clocks. And in modern mythologies, like the spinning tops and folding cities of Inception, sleep becomes a labyrinth, a place where the boundaries between reality and fiction are as thin and shifting as the surface of a dream. Yet beyond the stories, the nightly journey into sleep remains, at its core, an essential universal act. Every human, from the most ancient ancestor to the child curled under a patchwork quilt tonight, must yield to it. So too do animals, from blue whales drifting in the inky ocean deep to hummingbirds shivering in nests suspended from slender branches. Even the simplest of creatures, fruit flies, worms, pause their bustling lives for intervals of rest that echo our own in miniature. Sleep is woven into the fabric of life, as inevitable as dusk, as necessary as breath. Why, though? Why must we sleep? This is not a question with an easy answer, even now. For centuries it has hovered at the edge of our understanding, a riddle posed by the body to the mind. Some ancient philosophers saw sleep as a kind of miniature death, an interlude in which the soul wandered free from the shackles of the flesh. Others imagined it as a time of healing, when the body's unseen workers, cells, enzymes, secret chemistries, repaired what the day had battered and worn. But sleep is more than mere repair. Modern science has peeled back many layers of the mystery, yet the core remains elusive, always retreating ahead of our brightest lamps. We know, for instance, that sleep is not a simple shutting down. The brain, far from falling silent, enters a rich symphony of activity. In some stages, waves of synchronized electrical pulses ripple across the cortex, as if the brain were washing itself in tides of slow, rolling sound. In others there is frenetic, chaotic motion, the rapid eye movement of dreaming, bursts of cellular conversation, hidden dramas played out behind closed lids. Dreams themselves have always been slippery things, half-remembered, half-invented, fluttering away at the touch of morning light. They have been cast as messages from the gods, as secret maps to our desires, as mad, random firings of a machine idling in neutral. Yet anyone who has woken from a dream knows its peculiar force, the way it can leave the heart pounding or fill the mind with images stranger than any waking fantasy. In fiction, dreams are often portals or puzzles. In Inception, they are landscapes to be explored, manipulated, even weaponized, a reflection of our suspicion that what happens in sleep is not inert, but charged with meaning. Across cultures and centuries, sleep has been both revered and feared. Ancient Greeks built temples to Hypnos, the god of sleep, believing that healing dreams could be summoned by ritual and prayer. In the shadowy rooms of medieval Europe, sleep was a battleground. People feared the visitations of incubi and succubi, blamed nightmares on witches or wandering spirits. The Victorians, with their fascination for the hidden workings of the mind, turned sleep into a subject of scientific curiosity, probing the phases of the night for clues about madness, memory, and the soul. Even now, we stand in awe before the mysteries sleep still guards. One of the greatest mysteries is its ubiquity. Every animal, no matter how simple or strange, must sleep or something very like it. Dolphins, whose brains must keep half awake so they do not drown, sleep with one hemisphere at a time, half their mind submerged in slumber, the other half scanning the currents for danger. Migratory birds can sleep on the wing, snatching seconds of rest as they glide through the night. Some frogs can freeze solid in winter, their hearts stilled, their bodies in a kind of suspended animation, only to thaw and wake with the spring. Even fruit flies, with nervous systems a fraction of ours, show cycles of activity and rest that echo the greater rhythms of mammalian sleep. This universality hints at something profound. Evolution is ruthless. It does not waste energy on luxuries. If sleep were optional, it would have been shed by countless species in favor of more waking hours to hunt, feed, mate, or flee. Yet sleep persists, as unyielding as gravity, its necessity carved into the blueprint of all living things. The costs of sleep are obvious. In sleep, an animal is vulnerable, blind to predators, unable to defend itself or seek out food. That every species accepts this risk is a clue to how vital sleep must be. Science fiction has often seized on this tension between vulnerability and necessity. In the cold vacuum of space, where time stretches and contracts in new ways, characters are often placed in artificial sleep, cryogenic pods, hibernation chambers, stasis fields. In Ridley Scott's Alien, and again in Interstellar, sleep is a way of cheating time, of surviving the long empty gulfs between stars. Yet even in these stories, sleep is never simply the absence of waking. There is always the sense that something crucial happens in those hours or years of darkness, something that might change a person or a world. Our own language betrays our fascination. We speak of falling asleep as if tumbling into a well, of the land of Nod as if sleep were a foreign country. We count sheep, chase dreams, fight insomnia. We invent machines to measure our sleep. Watches and rings that record the tempo of our heartbeats, the temperature of our skin, the subtle shifts of our bodies on the mattress. In the lab, researchers attach electrodes to the scalp, mapping the electrical storms of the sleeping brain. Yet for all these tools, the heart of sleep remains deeply private, shaped by culture, belief, and the wild, unpredictable logic of our own minds. Sleep is not uniform. It comes in waves, in cycles, in stages. There is the slow, heavy descent into non-REM sleep, when the body grows still and the mind begins to drift. Then, in the small hours, comes REM sleep, the stage of rapid eye movement and vivid dreams, when the brain's activity rivals that of waking, and the muscles of the body are paralyzed to keep us from acting out our nocturnal adventures. The architecture of sleep is a cathedral of repeating patterns, built on foundations we barely understand. Children need more sleep than adults. The old often need less, or find it more elusive. Some people claim to thrive on a few hours of rest. Others wilt without a full night's sleep. There are those who walk or talk in their sleep, whose bodies move while their minds dream. There are those who are haunted by nightmares, or who find themselves trapped in the in-between state of sleep paralysis, unable to move or cry out while the mind is still tethered to a dream. Each of these experiences is a thread in the tapestry of sleep's enigma. In literature, sleep is a borderland. Shakespeare's characters wander the forests of A Midsummer Night's Dream, enchanted into sleep and awoken to new loves and new selves. In Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, the monster learns about the world by watching a family as they sleep, their peace a contrast to his own restless isolation. In science fiction, from Philip K. Dick's fevered visions to the lucid dreaming of Ursula K. Le Guin, sleep is a space for transformation, a place where the rules bend and where the self can be remade. Yet for all our stories, for all our science, the basic nature of sleep eludes us. Is it for the body or the mind? Is it to consolidate memories, to clear away the day's mental clutter, to repair tissues, to regulate mood? The answer is likely all of these, and something more besides. Recent research suggests that during sleep, the brain flushes out metabolic waste, literally washing itself clean, like a city after a long festival. Other studies show that sleep is crucial for learning. Rats deprived of REM sleep cannot remember how to run a maze. Humans who miss a night's sleep stumble through simple tasks, their minds fogged and slow. Yet knowing this does not fully explain the necessity. Why do we dream? Why are some dreams so vivid, so persistent, that they haunt us for years? Why does sleep deprivation unravel the mind so quickly, leading first to irritability and confusion, then to hallucinations and even madness? Why do all creatures, from the lowliest worm to the soaring albatross, risk sleep's dangers night after night? The more we learn, the deeper the mystery seems to grow. Perhaps this is why sleep has always served as both metaphor and mystery in our stories. To sleep is to surrender, to trust that the world will still be there when we wake. In that surrender, there is something sacred, something that connects us to every other living thing, a thread that runs through the heart of the world. If you listen, truly listen, to the quiet hush of a house at midnight, you may sense the collective exhale of all who sleep under its roof. In cities, the glow of 1,000,000 windows dims, and the restless tide of humanity ebbs into dreams. In the forests, animals curl into hollows, wings folded, eyes closed. In the oceans, whales sing lullabies to their calves as they drift in the dark. Sleep is a great leveling force, a shared vulnerability and a shared necessity. It is the price we pay for consciousness, and perhaps also its source. As night deepens, and as you feel the pull of sleep yourself, remember that you are participating in one of nature's oldest rituals. You join not just the people around you, but the countless generations who have closed their eyes before you, each seeking rest, renewal, and perhaps a glimpse of something beyond the waking world. For in sleep, a door opens. Where it leads is a mystery still, a question that beckons us onward even as we drift toward dreams. And so, beneath the shroud of night, the enigma of slumber persists, woven of myth and memory, science and story. Each night we return to it, explorers on the edge of the unknown, drawn by the promise of rest and the lure of what lies hidden in the dark. As you settle into the rhythm of your own breathing, the journey continues, for sleep is never a simple pause, but a passage to elsewhere, a realm shaped by biology, yet haunted by wonder, always inviting us deeper into its secret heart. Sleep, to the untrained eye, appears a simple surrender, the slow closing of eyelids, the slackening of muscles, the descent into darkness. Yet, beneath this calm facade, the mind enters a realm more intricate than the waking world itself, a world of shifting currents, secret rhythms, and silent labor. The more scientists have peered into this nightly journey, the more they have come to appreciate its labyrinthine complexity. Sleep is not merely a gentle pause, It is a symphony of orchestrated events, each movement vital, each player guided by signals as ancient as life itself. Begin, if you will, by considering what happens the moment you close your eyes, your body nestling into the warm cocoon of blankets. At first, the world of sensation recedes. Sounds blur, the sharp edges of awareness soften, and the pulse of thoughts slows. But inside your skull, the brain is anything but still. Within moments, a shift occurs. Neurons that once blazed with the steady hum of waking consciousness begin to flicker in new patterns. The brain's electrical activity, captured in rippling waves by an EEG, reveals a subtle transition from the rapid, low-amplitude beta waves of alertness to the slower, more synchronized alpha waves of relaxed wakefulness. This is the threshold, the liminal space between day and night where consciousness hovers before letting go. As you drift further, the surface is breached and you slip beneath, entering the first true stage of sleep, NREM, or non-rapid eye movement sleep. Scientists, in their quest to chart the seas of sleep, have divided NREM into 3 stages, each deeper than the last. The first is a shallow pool, a light doze known as N1. Here, the world is not yet entirely lost. You may startle awake with the jolt of a hypnic jerk, that sudden sense of falling. Muscles relax, eyes roll gently beneath closed lids, and the mind flits between wakefulness and dreams. This stage is fleeting, lasting only minutes at a time, but it is the gateway to more profound depths. As you descend into N2, the second stage, the brain's electrical landscape grows stranger. The EEG reveals spindles, brief bursts of rapid activity like silver fish darting in the currents, and sharp waves called K-complexes, sudden peaks that may help shield the mind from external noise. Why these features appear is still a mystery, though researchers believe they play roles in consolidating memories and maintaining sleep. Your body temperature drops, heart rate slows, and conscious awareness slips further away. By the time you reach this stage, you are no longer easily roused by the world outside. The boundary between self and not self grows porous, and the mind begins to repair itself in ways you cannot sense. Then, at last, comes N3, the realm of deep sleep. This is the stage often called slow wave sleep, named for the high amplitude, low frequency delta waves that sweep across the brain like a tide. To awaken someone now is to wrench them out of a cavern, groggy, disoriented, as if pulled from underwater. In these depths, the body performs some of its most critical maintenance. Growth hormone surges, fueling the repair of tissues and the fortification of bones. The immune system is replenished. Glial cells, the caretakers of the nervous system, clear out metabolic waste, sweeping away the detritus of thought. Memory traces, fragile as spider's silk, are woven into stronger threads. The mind, researchers suspect, replays certain patterns of activity from the day, stabilizing the neural architecture of learning. Children, especially, spend more time in this deep stage, their bodies and minds growing in the dark. But sleep is not a static descent into stillness. It is a cycle, a looping path that winds through these stages multiple times each night. After roughly 90 minutes, the tranquility of NREM gives way to something altogether different. REM sleep, the stage of rapid eye movements and dreams. During REM, the brain is as electrically active as it is when awake, yet the body is almost entirely paralyzed. The eyes dart beneath the lids, tracking invisible scenes. The breath becomes irregular. Heart rate and blood pressure rise. If you were to peer inside, you would see the cortex alight with activity, the occipital lobe firing as if viewing real images, the motor cortex rehearsing movements never made, the limbic system awash in emotion. It is during REM that we dream most vividly. The content of these dreams, slippery and shifting, has enthralled poets and bemused scientists for centuries. Are dreams mere byproducts of a restless mind, or do they serve some deeper purpose? The answer, as with so much in sleep research, remains elusive. Some theories propose that dreams help us process emotions, rehearse threats, or integrate memories. Others see in them a kind of overnight therapy, a nocturnal stage on which the dramas of waking life are replayed and reframed. What is certain is that during REM the brain is not resting. It is reconstructing, rehearsing, and improvising, drawing on fragments of the day to weave new narratives. Dreams themselves are a paradox. They are vivid, often emotional, and can seem more real than reality. Yet they are also ephemeral, fragmentary, and prone to vanishing upon waking. The neural machinery behind them is intricate. The prefrontal cortex, seat of rational judgment, is dampened, while the amygdala, a hub of emotion, blazes with activity. This imbalance may explain why dreams are so surreal, unmoored from logic, yet charged with feeling. The brainstem, meanwhile, sends signals that paralyze the body, preventing us from acting out our nocturnal visions. Only the eyes remain free, their movements perhaps mirroring the dreamscape within. As dawn approaches, the cycles of sleep grow lighter. REM stages lengthen, dreams become more elaborate, and the mind prepares to return to the waking world. Yet even as you lie there, seemingly at peace, the machinery of sleep is never idle. Hormones ebb and flow in precise rhythms, melatonin waning as light filters through the eyelids, cortisol rising to ready you for the day. Synapses are pruned, memories sifted, immune defenses strengthened. The myth that sleep is a period of rest, a simple lowering of the lights, is laid bare. The sleeper is a bustling workshop, a hive of cellular and electrical activity. The more scientists have learned, the more they have realized how little they truly know. Sleep, for all its familiarity, remains one of the greatest puzzles of biology. Why, for example, do we spend roughly a third of our lives in this vulnerable state, when evolution could have favored creatures that needed less? Why do all animals with complex nervous systems sleep, albeit in forms as varied as the creatures themselves? Dolphins, after all, sleep with one hemisphere of the brain at a time, while birds can nap mid-flight. Fruit flies need sleep, so do zebrafish and octopuses. Yet the precise reasons why sleep is so essential, why deprivation leads to breakdown and eventually to death, are still being unraveled. Our understanding is further complicated by the disorders that can disrupt this delicate architecture. Insomnia, the most common sleep complaint, is both ancient and modern, a torment of those whose minds refuse to quieten, who lie awake as minutes stretch into hours. The causes of insomnia are manifold: anxiety, chronic pain, hormonal changes, the blue glow of smartphones. For some, the problem is falling asleep. For others, it is staying asleep. The more one worries about sleep, the more elusive it becomes, a cruel cycle of anticipation and disappointment. Other disorders are stranger still. Narcolepsy, for instance, is a rare condition in which the boundaries between sleep and wakefulness are blurred. Sufferers may fall asleep without warning, slipping into REM at moments of joy or surprise. This collapse of the sleep-wake frontier is linked to the loss of hypocretin-producing neurons, but why these cells die is still unclear. Sleepwalking or somnambulism occurs when the body rises and moves even as the mind remains in NREM. Night terrors, often seen in children, are episodes of intense fear and confusion without memory upon waking. These phenomena suggest that the architecture of sleep is not always stable. Its walls can sometimes shift, letting waking and dreaming intermingle. Perhaps the most haunting of all is sleep paralysis, that eerie state in which the mind awakens but the body remains frozen. The sleeper, caught between worlds, is unable to move or speak, often accompanied by vivid hallucinations, shadows at the foot of the bed, a weight on the chest, the sense of an unseen presence. Cultures across the globe have woven folklore around this experience, invoking spirits or demons to explain its terror. Science, for its part, has traced the roots of sleep paralysis to the overlap of REM atonia and conscious awareness, but the subjective strangeness remains. In these moments, the boundaries of self and reality are rendered uncertain, and the sleeper glimpses the deeper currents of the mind. What dreams may come and what disorders may rise are questions that drive ongoing research. Scientists peer ever deeper into the sleeping brain, wielding tools of increasing precision. Functional MRI scans that map blood flow, optogenetics that tease apart circuits in mice, electrodes that record the firing of single neurons. They have begun to trace the networks that generate sleep spindles, to identify the molecules that trigger drowsiness, to piece together the genetic instructions that determine how much sleep we need. There are hints that sleep is not uniform, even within the brain, that different regions may slumber or wake independently, engaging in local repairs or synaptic pruning while the rest remains active. Yet for every answer, new questions emerge. Why do some memories consolidate overnight while others fade? How do dreams influence creativity or emotional resilience? Can we learn to guide our dreams or to repair the damage done by sleeplessness? There are those who seek to engineer new forms of sleep, to compress its stages or enhance its benefits, but the risks of tampering with such a fundamental process are not well understood. The sleeping brain, it seems, guards its secrets jealously. Through all this, the sleeper remains unaware. Each night we surrender ourselves to sleep's intricate choreography, trusting that the mind will do its unseen work. We are the audience and the stage, the dreamer and the dream. In beds across the world, billions of sleepers are engaged in the quiet labor of renewal, their brains alive with patterns as complex as any symphony. The night is not a time of rest, but of hidden industry, a realm of cellular repair, memory weaving, and emotional alchemy. And so, as the world darkens and the first hints of sleep steal across your senses, know that you are entering a landscape at once familiar and unfathomable. The next time you close your eyes, remember that beneath the still surface lies a world of flickering lights, silent spindles, and dreams unspooling in the dark. The mysteries of sleep are far from solved. Its secrets continue to beckon. And as the night deepens, the cycles turn anew, drawing you onward into the heart of sleep's hidden complexities, where the boundaries between waking and dreaming blur, and the wonders of the mind unfold in silence. Beyond this intricate machinery, even now, researchers are uncovering how sleep's subtle variations and disruptions ripple into our waking lives, and how, in rare moments, those boundaries between night and day can be crossed in ways both unsettling and profound. In the quiet hush of night, when the world seems to hold its breath and darkness softens all sharpness, sleep unspools its mysteries across the mind with such subtlety that for centuries even the most attentive observers could barely glimpse its secrets. For most of human history, sleep was a black box, a nightly surrender whose inner workings were lost to consciousness and memory, its purpose obscured behind closed eyelids and dreams that faded in the morning light. Yet over time, curiosity grew restless. The urge to understand sleep, to peer behind the curtain that fell with dusk, led researchers on a journey through the winding passages of physiology and psychology, into caves and clinics, through the labyrinthine dance of brainwaves and the fragile architecture of dreams. To trace this journey is to follow a thread through both shadow and illumination, across centuries of speculation and into the age of scientific inquiry. Sleep, after all, is not merely the absence of wakefulness. It is a complex, active process orchestrated by the hidden symphony of the brain. To unlock its secrets, one must first learn to listen to this music. One must find the tools to record the silent language of the sleeping mind. In the early years, sleep was measured in crude terms, described by the observer's eye and the ticking of clocks. sleepers were watched for movements, for the stillness of their limbs, for the regularity of their breathing. But these outward signs revealed little of the inner world, the silent storm of neural activity that surged beneath a calm surface. The real revolution would come only with the ability to eavesdrop on the electrical impulses that traversed the brain's hidden corridors. Enter the electroencephalogram, or EEG, a device that would become the stethoscope of sleep science. The EEG's origins lie in the 1920s, with the German psychiatrist Hans Berger, who painstakingly recorded the first faint electrical signals from the human scalp. Berger's early tracings, scratched out on rolls of paper, resembled the jagged outlines of distant mountains. These lines, he discovered, shifted in character as the mind wandered or wandered off into sleep. For the first time, the boundaries between waking and sleeping could be marked by something more than the fluttering of eyelids or the slowing of breath. They could be charted in the language of electricity, written in the oscillations of alpha, beta, theta, and delta waves. The EEG opened a new window into the night. Through its glass, researchers saw that sleep was not a monolithic state, but a landscape of changing terrains, each with its own distinctive signature. In the lighter phases, the brain danced with rapid, low-voltage waves. Deeper sleep brought slower, grander undulations, as if the mind were settling into a more ancient rhythm. And then, in an astonishing discovery, scientists found that even in the deepest darkness, the brain would sometimes burst into sudden, wild activity, a paradoxical state where the sleeper's eyes darted beneath closed lids, as if watching invisible scenes. This was REM sleep, the stage of vivid dreaming, and its recognition would forever change our understanding of the sleeping mind. But before these patterns could be mapped, before the EEG's tracings could be deciphered, someone had to ask the right questions and risk the darkness to pursue their answers. Among the earliest and most persistent explorers was Nathaniel Kleitman, a physiologist whose life's work would earn him the title the father of sleep research. Kleitman's investigations began in the 1920s and stretched across decades. His curiosity led him to laboratories, to the tangled streets of Chicago, and, most famously, deep underground, into the timeless world of Mammoth Cave in Kentucky. In the summer of 1938, Kleitman and his student Bruce Richardson descended into the cave's cool, perpetual twilight, carrying with them cots, notebooks, and a simple but profound question. What happens to our internal clocks in the absence of external cues? For 32 days they lived by the dim glow of lanterns, cut off from the sun, striving to disentangle the rhythms of sleep and wake from the cycles of day and night. They measured body temperature, recorded sleep times, and meticulously documented their own mental states, searching for the underlying cadence of the human circadian clock. The cave study was grueling, an exercise in patience and disorientation. Yet it revealed hints of a persistent internal rhythm. Even without sunlight, the body clung to a cycle of roughly 24 to 28 hours, drifting but never collapsing into chaos. Kleitman's adventure beneath the earth laid the groundwork for modern chronobiology and cast the first light on the biological mechanisms that govern our daily passage through sleep and wakefulness. Above ground, sleep science blossomed in the decades that followed. The 1950s saw a surge of interest and innovation as researchers harnessed new technologies and devised ever more ingenious experiments. The EEG became a staple of the sleep laboratory, its electrodes affixed to the scalps of willing volunteers, its wires trailing like the roots of some strange, sentient plant. Sleepers were observed and recorded in controlled settings, their brainwaves, muscle activity, and eye movements captured while silent cameras watched over them in the dark. It was in this era that Eugene Oserinsky, working with Kleitman at the University of Chicago, discovered the phenomenon of REM sleep. While monitoring his young son's sleep, Aserinsky noticed periods when the child's eyes flickered beneath their lids, accompanied by a sudden flurry of brain activity. These intervals, it turned out, were the moments of most intense dreaming, a revelation that shattered the old notion of sleep as a passive state and suggested instead a world of hidden drama playing out behind the mask of rest. The study of dreams, once the province of mystics and poets, now entered the laboratory. Researchers devised clever ways to catch the mind in the act of dreaming. By waking subjects at various points in the night, they could sample the contents of dreams in real time, linking specific patterns of brain activity to the vividness, strangeness, or emotional charge of the dream experience. The boundary between science and the subconscious grew more porous as data accumulated and hypotheses multiplied. But sleep laboratories did not confine themselves to the gentle rhythms of natural slumber. In their quest to understand sleep's function, researchers also explored what happened when sleep was withheld. Sleep deprivation experiments, though ethically fraught, yielded crucial insights into the necessity of sleep for memory, mood, and physical health. Volunteers, sometimes paid, sometimes driven by curiosity, were kept awake for hours or days, their cognitive and physical abilities tested at regular intervals. Through these studies, the cost of lost sleep became starkly visible. Attention flagged, reaction time slowed, and memory faltered. Hallucinations crept in at the edges of wakefulness as the mind, deprived of its nightly restoration, began to fracture and flicker. Even the body showed signs of distress. Immune defenses weakened, metabolism wavered, and the very fabric of mood unraveled. In the face of these findings, the old adage that sleep is the best medicine took on the weight of biological truth. Yet, for all its rigor and instrumentation, sleep science has always balanced between precision and wonder. The tools may grow more sophisticated. Polysomnographs now record not just brain waves, but heart rhythms, breathing patterns, and the twitches of muscles. But the questions remain, at their core, deeply human. Why do we dream? What do our dreams mean? Can we ever truly know the mind at rest, or does sleep remain, in some essential way, an undiscovered country? Some of the most elegant experiments have sought to answer these questions by manipulating the content of dreams themselves. In one famous study, researchers played sounds or presented scents to sleepers during REM sleep, subtly shaping the themes and imagery that appeared in their dreams. In others, subjects were trained to recognize the signs of dreaming, a practice called lucid dreaming, allowing them to exert a measure of control over their dream worlds. By correlating these experiences with the underlying neural activity, scientists have begun to sketch a map of the dreaming mind, though much of its territory remains shrouded in mist. Meanwhile, advances in brain imaging have begun to reveal the choreography of neural networks as they shift from wakefulness into sleep. Functional MRI, positron emission tomography, and magnetoencephalography. All these tools offer glimpses into the sleeping brain, tracing the pathways of memory consolidation, emotional processing, and creative problem-solving that unfold in the small hours of the night. The sleeping brain, it turns out, is anything but idle. It replays and reorganizes the day's experiences, strengthening some connections while pruning others, perhaps even rehearsing solutions to problems that eluded us in waking life. However, for all the technology we wield, the study of sleep is still, in many ways, a study of mystery. Each sleeper is both subject and observer, carrying within them the keys to their own nocturnal kingdom. The act of sleeping is universal, but the experience of it, its textures, its landscapes, its private dramas, is as varied as the minds that dream. Sleep clinics, humming softly in hospital basements and university wings, continue to welcome new patients and volunteers. Here, the architecture of sleep is dissected and catalogued. Insomnias and parasomnias, night terrors and sleepwalking, the breathless interruptions of apnea and the strange paralysis of REM. Each case is a puzzle, demanding both empathy and expertise. Electrodes are gently affixed, soft words offered, and the sleeper settles into a carefully monitored night, their data streaming silently into computers for later analysis. Outside the laboratory, the world of sleep research spills into daily life. Wearable devices, once the stuff of science fiction, now track our sleep with algorithms and accelerometers, promising personalized insights into the quality and quantity of our rest. Apps offer guided meditations, white noise, and soothing voices engineered to lull us into slumber. The boundary between science and self-care blurs as millions of people become amateur sleep scientists, charting their own cycles and seeking, in data and routine, the elusive promise of a better night's sleep. And yet, for all our measurements and methodologies, for all our charts and tracings, the heart of sleep remains something that must be entered, not explained. The scientist, like the dreamer, must ultimately submit to the unknown, to the gentle oblivion that overtakes even the most vigilant mind. Still, the quest continues. In the humming quiet of the sleep laboratory, in the gentle glow of computer screens and the soft ticking of hidden clocks, researchers still watch, still listen, still wonder. Each night, as volunteers drift into sleep, as brainwaves bloom and fade across the screen, the old questions linger. What truly is happening here? How do these silent processes shape our days, our personalities, our very sense of self? So the study of sleep moves forward, one night, one dream, one experiment at a time. Each discovery opens new avenues of inquiry. Each answer hints at deeper riddles. The cave is gone, replaced by machines and monitors, but the darkness remains, not an emptiness, but a rich and fertile ground, where the seeds of knowledge are sown in the hope that one day the full flowering of awareness will bloom. Outside, the world turns beneath the stars, and the sleeper's breath rises and falls. In this quiet, ongoing exploration, we are all participants, all investigators, all dreamers. And as the mind drifts toward the threshold of sleep, it carries with it not just the burdens of the day, but the questions of the ages, unanswered, unresolved, gently enfolding us as we surrender to the night. Through the lens of science and the veil of dreams, the night deepens, inviting us further into its secrets. And just beyond the edge of waking, another mystery awaits, quietly beckoning as the journey into sleep's heart continues. Sleep, our silent muse. There are moments in the hush between wakefulness and dream when the world holds its breath. In these liminal spaces, as consciousness loosens its grip and the body yields to the velvet darkness, we enter the domain of sleep, a realm as essential as it is enigmatic, as ordinary as it is wondrous. For all our science, for all our careful study of brainwaves and circadian rhythms, sleep remains a presence both intimate and elusive, a silent muse that shapes every human life with invisible hands. How strange, on the surface, that such a vital force should operate in silence. All day we strive and struggle, invent and build, love and grieve. Then night falls, and with gentle insistence, sleep calls us to surrender. The body becomes limp, the eyes close, the world recedes, and for hours at a stretch we are unreachable, motionless, unseeing. In this state we are so vulnerable, so defenseless, that one might expect nature to have devised a more practical solution. Yet the need for sleep is woven deep into the fabric of life, from the humblest insect to the most complex mammal. Evolution, that tireless sculptor, has left sleep untouched, a necessity so profound that not even the pressures of survival could sweep it away. If you were to wander through the galleries of human history, you would find sleep depicted in 1,000 guises. In ancient frescoes, the god Hypnos hovers with wings outstretched, anointing mortals with oblivion. Homer sings of the soft forgetfulness of sleep, a balm for weary souls. In Shakespeare's verse, sleep is the innocent sleep, sleep that knits up the ravelled sleeve of care. Across cultures and centuries, sleep has been imagined as a gentle guardian, a thief, a healer, a threshold to other worlds. It is a source of comfort and of terror, a font of creativity and of dissolution. What is it, then, that makes sleep so indispensable? Biologists will speak of glymphatic clearance, of synaptic homeostasis, of memory consolidation. They will point to the nightly orchestration of hormones, the subtle recalibrations of the immune system, the cellular repairs that unfold beyond our awareness, and indeed every organ in the body, every circuit of the brain, seems to require the nightly interval of sleep as a condition for continued life. Yet there is a sense, as the poets and philosophers have long intuited, that sleep's value cannot be measured by repair alone. There is something in sleep that transcends the mechanics of physiology, something that touches the core of what it means to be human. Consider the mind adrift in sleep, unmoored from the constraints of waking logic. Here, in the theatre of dreams, the self is both audience and performer, protagonist and setting. We revisit old haunts, converse with the dead, fly above forests, tumble through impossible architectures. In this world conjuring, memory and imagination entwine, forging connections that waking thought might never allow. It is in sleep, some have argued, that we learn to be creative, not by deliberate design, but by the mysterious intercourse of fragment and fantasy, of memory and invention. The painter Salvador Dalí understood this well. He would hold a brass key between his fingers, dozing in a chair with a plate beneath his hand. As he slipped into sleep, the key would fall, striking the plate with a clang and waking him. In that fleeting moment between worlds, Dalí claimed to harvest images and ideas that would later bloom on canvas. The poet Samuel Taylor Coleridge, roused from an opium-laced slumber, composed the ethereal lines of Kubla Khan, a vision, he insisted, delivered whole from the dream. Countless inventors, writers, and musicians have awakened with solutions to problems that baffled them by day, as though sleep itself were a collaborator in the creative act. But creativity is not the only gift of sleep. There is, too, the subtle art of forgetting. Each day, the mind is inundated with impressions and information, much of it trivial or redundant. If we remembered it all, we would be paralyzed by the weight of detail, unable to discern the signal from the noise. Sleep, it seems, is the sieve through which experience is sifted, keeping what matters and letting the rest drift away. In the hippocampus, the brain's librarian, memories are catalogued and cross-referenced during slow-wave sleep, while rapid eye movement, REM, phases unleash a flurry of activity that may help integrate emotion and meaning into the tapestry of self. How quietly, how gently, this inner work proceeds. You do not feel the synapses rewiring, the neurons humming with new patterns. You do not sense the immune cells at their silent patrol, the hormones pulsing in their slow, tidal rhythms. Yet in the morning you are changed, subtly recalibrated for the day ahead. The anxieties that seemed overwhelming by night are softened. The puzzles that seemed insoluble are newly approachable. Sleep is not only a healer of the body, but a reconciler of the mind. The ancients, in their wisdom, recognized sleep as a borderland between worlds. In Greek myth, the gates of horn and ivory stood at the threshold of sleep, through which true dreams and false alike might pass. The Egyptians inscribed prayers to sleep on amulets, hoping for revelations in the night. Indigenous peoples across continents have long honored dreams as messages from the ancestors, guides for healing, and maps for the soul. Even in our modern, electric world, where the night is never truly dark and sleep is often chased away by screens and schedules, the old mysteries persist. We still speak of sleeping on it when faced with a difficult decision, as though trusting some deeper wisdom to emerge from the night. And yet, for all its familiarity, sleep remains deeply strange. Why should unconsciousness be required for health? Why must the mind detach from the world, relinquishing control so completely? Some philosophers have suggested that sleep is a rehearsal for death, a nightly reminder of our mortality. Others see in it a metaphor for renewal, a perpetual return to the wellspring of being. In sleep we are both lost and found, lost to the world, found within ourselves. The boundary between self and other, between past and future, dissolves into something softer, more permeable. In literature, sleep is often a threshold, a point of transformation or revelation. In fairy tales, the princess pricks her finger and falls into enchanted slumber, awaiting the kiss that will awaken her. In Shakespeare's Macbeth, sleep is invoked as the chief nourisher in life's feast. Yet it is precisely this nourishment that is denied to the guilty king. The poet John Keats, weary of the world's woes, addresses sleep as soft embalmer of the still midnight, longing for its gentle touch. Even in the bleakest stories, sleep is a refuge, a place where suffering is suspended, if only for a time. Artists, too, have sought to capture the essence of sleep. The languid figures of Titian's Venus of Urbino, or the dreamy faces of Modigliani's portraits evoke a sense of inwardness, a turning away from the world. The surreal landscapes of René Magritte, with their floating objects and impossible juxtapositions, mirror the illogic of dreams. In music, lullabies and nocturnes evoke the lulling rhythms of sleep, the slow ebb and flow of consciousness. There is in every culture a longing to give shape to the shapeless, to render visible the invisible work of sleep. Yet sleep is not only a private affair. It binds us together as families, as communities, as societies. The rituals of bedtime, the telling of stories, the singing of songs, the gentle touch of a parent's hand are among the oldest threads in the tapestry of human connection. In the hushed hours of the night, when the world lies still, we are reminded of our common vulnerability, our shared need for rest and renewal. Across continents and centuries, people have gathered around fires and hearths, drawing close as the darkness deepens, surrendering together to the silent muse of sleep. There are, of course, those for whom sleep is elusive, a torment rather than a gift. Insomnia, that thief in the night, can unravel the mind and fray the nerves, leaving the sufferer adrift in a sea of wakefulness. Nightmares can haunt the vulnerable, revisiting old wounds and anxieties. Sleepwalking, narcolepsy, and other disorders reveal the delicate machinery at work behind the scenes, the ease with which balance can be lost. Yet even in its disturbances, sleep is a window into the mysteries of the mind, a reminder that consciousness is not a monolith, but a shifting interplay of forces always in flux. Modern science, with its electrodes and scanners, has illuminated much about the architecture of sleep. We know of the cycles and stages, the oscillations of delta and theta waves, the choreography of neurotransmitters and hormones. We can map the territories of REM and non-REM, chart the nightly voyage from light dozing to deepest rest and back again. Yet the essential mystery remains. Why do we dream? What is the nature of the self that persists in sleep? What truths are whispered in the language of the night, just beyond the reach of waking thought? Perhaps it is this very unknowability that gives sleep its power. In a world obsessed with productivity and control, sleep is a reminder that not everything can be willed or managed. There are regions of the self that yield only to surrender, gifts that arrive unbidden in the quiet hours. Sleep is both an act of trust and an act of letting go, a nightly leap into the unknown, from which we return again and again, changed in ways we cannot always name. In the collective life of societies, sleep has shaped the rhythms of work and rest, the design of homes and cities, the customs of hospitality and care. the siesta, the midnight sun, the all-night vigil, each is a testament to the ways in which human culture has adapted to the demands of sleep. In the modern world, where the boundaries between day and night have blurred, where shift work and artificial light disrupt our ancient cycles, there is a growing recognition of the need to reclaim the restorative power of sleep. Public health campaigns, sleep clinics, and mindfulness practices all bear witness to the centrality of this silent muse in the well-being of individuals and communities alike. Yet sleep resists commodification. It cannot be bought or bartered, summoned on demand or stockpiled for later use. Its gifts are subtle, cumulative, and deeply personal. In the words of the philosopher Gaston Bachelard, sleep is the country of the soul, a territory we inhabit alone, even as we are drawn together by its necessity. In sleep, we are stripped of pretense and ambition, return to the elemental rhythms of breath and heartbeat. The self, so carefully constructed by day, dissolves into something softer, an openness, a receptivity to what is and what might be. As you drift toward your own sleep tonight, you might sense the presence of this silent muse, hovering just beyond the edge of awareness. You might recall the dreams that have shaped your days, the nights when sleep brought solace or inspiration. You might wonder what mysteries await you in the hours to come, what memories will be sifted, what wounds will be healed, what seeds of creativity will be planted in the fertile darkness. Outside your window, the world continues its slow rotation, the stars wheel overhead, and somewhere, in a distant forest or a city street, another sleeper yields to the gentle pull of night. You are part of a great, unbroken chain of dreamers, each one cradled by the same silent muse, each one changed in ways both small and profound by the nightly passage through sleep's domain. And so, as the boundaries of wakefulness begin to blur, as the mind softens and the body yields, you find yourself at the threshold once more. The world of day recedes, the hush deepens, and you are carried gently, imperceptibly, into the embrace of sleep, that ancient and enduring muse whose mysteries have shaped humanity since the first dawn. What lies beyond this threshold, what dreams may come, what silent gifts await, these remain, as ever, the province of the night and the ongoing story of sleep. And so, as our journey through the quiet cosmos of sleep gently drifts to a close, we watch the brain's comet tail fading into the hush of space, renewing its brilliance in the silent night. May your thoughts float softly on this serene voyage, inviting dreams to cradle you in peaceful wonder. Until we meet again beneath the starlit skies of curiosity, return for more Dreamtime tales that awaken the quiet magic within.